Bring everyone together for regular board meeting number 35, 2019-2020. And I'll start with the Board of Trustees value statement. All members of our community are sacred and must be treated with dignity and respect. We value excellence in Catholic education, guided by shared responsibility as shepherds and the moral authority of the Church. And with that, I'll call our meeting to order, and I'll turn to Trustee Wellman to open us in prayer and a territorial acknowledgement.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We gather as a people who belong to Christ. As we begin in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. In anticipation of the 12th Sunday of Ordinary Time, let us listen to these words of St. Matthew. Jesus said to his apostles, "Fear no one, for nothing is covered up that will not be uncovered, and nothing secret that will not become known. What I say to you in the dark, tell in the light, and what you hear whispered, proclaim from the housetops. Do not fear those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. Rather, fear him who can destroy both soul and body in hell. Are not 2 sparrows sold for a penny? Yet not one of them will fall to the ground apart from your Father. And even the hairs on your head are all counted. So do not be afraid. You are of more value than many sparrows. Everyone, therefore, who acknowledges me before humans, I will acknowledge before my Father in heaven. But whoever denies me before humans, I also will deny before my Father in heaven." Please join me in our gathering prayer. Lord God, you call us to share in the mission of Christ and to be your witnesses in the world. Increase our trust in your enduring presence and sheltering love, that we may bear witness without fear, proclaiming from the housetops the gospel we have heard and acknowledging openly the one whom we confess as Lord. Strengthen by your Spirit the faith of district staff, students, and their families. Keep them faithful to prayer and help them to recognize themselves as your beloved sons and daughters. May they never be ashamed of our faith, and may they be strengthened in their efforts to be both live it and share it with others, through Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
Madam Chair, we'd like to acknowledge that this meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Calgary Catholic School District is taking place on the traditional territories of the people of the Treaty 7 region in southern Alberta.
Thank you. And if I can have a motion?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move that the Board of Trustees approves the agenda as presented.
And before we vote on that, I've just realized that I do have a suggested amendment. If we could consider adding item 5.8, consideration of meeting dates. My apologies for not getting that to you sooner. And that is to consider the moving of our special meeting dates from Monday to Wednesday, because we will be approving all of our meeting dates later on tonight. And there is an option that has come up in between board meetings to consider that. So if you could perhaps pull back that motion and ask that the board amend the agenda by adding item 5.8.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move that the Board of Trustees amends the agenda as amended by adding item 5.8 to the agenda.
Thank you. And that would be special meeting dates.
Special meeting dates,
Thanks.
yes.
All those in favor? Thank you. And then we need a second motion, Trustee D'Souza. Trustee D'Souza? We need a second motion. Yep.
Oh, yes. So I'd like to move that we approve the agenda as amended.
Thank you. All those in favor? Thank you. That motion's carried. If I could have another motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the Board of Trustees approves the minutes of the regular board meeting 32, 2019, 2020, May 27th, 2020.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Sorry, Madam Chair, I do have a question. There are a few editorial corrections that need to be made where there has been the repeat of words in a couple of motions. Could we approve these as corrected? And then I will certainly get them to our recording secretary.
We have already called the question on that one, but thank you.
Okay.
And that was carried. Another motion?
Madam Chair, I'd move that the Board of Trustees approve the minutes of special board meeting 33, 2019, 2020, June 3rd, 2020.
Thank you. All those in favor? Thank you.
Madam Chair, I move that the Board of Trustees approves the minutes of special board meeting 34, 2019, 2020, June 8th, 2020.
Thank you. All those in favor? Thank you. That motion's carried. Trustee Wellman?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I move that the Board of Trustees moves to meet in private.
All those in favor? Thank you for that. And before I turn it over to the chief, you'll notice and with that, I will ask Trustee Wellman to open us in prayer and share the territorial acknowledgement.
Great, thank you, Madam Chair. As a people reconciled to God, we gather. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Let us listen to these words from Matthew's Gospel. Jesus said to his disciples, "When you are praying, do not heap up empty phrases as the Gentiles do, for they think that they will be heard because of their many words. Do not be like them, for your Father knows what you need before you ask him. Pray then in this way: Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come. Your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also have forgiven our debtors. And do not bring us to the time of trial, but rescue us from the evil one. For if you forgive others their trespasses, your heavenly Father will also forgive you. But if you do not forgive others, neither will your Father forgive your trespasses." Please join me in our gathering prayer. Lord God, you know us completely and desire to bless us in the ordinary moments of everyday life. Strengthen us in our hearts to pray and fill us with the riches of your mercy and grace. May we confidently bring our needs to you and trust in your goodness to help us as we may accomplish your will in the world as shepherds and leaders in Catholic education. Bless staff and students as they prepare to enter into summer vacation. Shield them from harm and keep them safe in their comings and goings. Bring them refreshment in heart, mind, and body, and help them to continue living their lives in a way that proclaims your goodness and love. Through Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. And Madam Chair, we would like to acknowledge that this meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Calgary Catholic School District is taking place on the traditional territories of the people of the Treaty 7 region in southern Alberta.
Thank you very much for that. That will allow us to move to item 7, appointments and delegations. We have no report at this meeting. And relative to item 8, presentation and review of accountability report. Likewise, we've completed our accountability report reviews for the year, so there's no report there. That will move us on to item 9, board decision-making items. 9.1, the 3-year educational plan. And with that, I'll turn it to the chief to introduce.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And so for this particular item called the 3-year education plan, I'd like to begin by thanking Superintendent Haloka, who spearheaded acquiring feedback from the Shepherd Leadership Council in relation to the draft goals that were presented in the 3-year education plan. And based upon the feedback, you will see some highlighted changes in yellow. And so this would require board approval to move forward. And so with that, I turn it back to you.
Thank you for that. And you'll recall that this 3-year plan was formed following the development of the board priorities, which took place early or later in the winter, early in the spring. And on behalf of the board, I would like to thank administration for working to prepare this draft for the board approval. And I will open it up to trustees who may have questions of clarification or comments. To the trustees.
Madam Chair, thank you very much. I have to say, going through this document, it was really refreshing, and I really am embracing this less is more. It's easy to read, it's easy to follow, but I do have a question. And I feel embarrassed asking this because I feel I should know this, and I don't. But what does APORI stand for? A-P-O-R-I.
To the chief?
So that, I believe, is the Provincial Accountability Pillar Reporting System, so. My mic. So my apologies, that is the Provincial Accountability, the exact acronym, Superintendent Haloka, you can help me out on this one. We're all stuck on it, but it is the Provincial Accountability Pillar Results Report, so, yeah.
Okay, thank you. I haven't seen it in our district, and so I just wasn't sure what it meant. But thank you for that clarity.
We'll add it to our acronym list.
And I was remiss in not starting this conversation with a motion, so I will turn to Trustee Williams.
That the Board of Trustees approves this 3-year education plan, and as per Board Policy 2.3, directs the Chief Superintendent to use this 3-year education plan to action the priorities of the Board.
Thank you for that. Are there any further questions of clarification on the part of trustees? I know that we've had an opportunity to see this as it's developed, so there should be no surprises. All right, seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. That motion is carried. Thank you very much. And that will move us. And again, before I leave this item, I would like to thank, through the chief, our staff for a tremendous job and a very thoughtful document. That will move us to item 9.2, which is the board chair's annual report. Again, if I could start with a motion, Trustee D'Souza?
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move that the Board of Trustees approves the board chair's report
Thank you. And as a means of...
to 2019-2020.
Thank you. And you've had an opportunity to review a couple of drafts of that, and they have been updated thanks to Teresa Pridham for integrating the many meetings and opportunities for advocacy that individual trustees have undertaken on behalf of the district. So I will open it up for questions. Trustee Wellman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. No questions, but I did want to make commentary. When you read through this report, I think it's absolutely amazing the amount of work that we were able to accomplish as a district during this most unprecedented time. And you certainly referred to COVID-19 within your report because it's had an impact on everyone and how we do our business. But when you look at the list of all the meetings and the events and special meetings and work that has been done, when you look at that list, it's quite extensive, but certainly not exhaustive, because it doesn't include everything that we do as individual trustees. But I think that the number of times that we have reached out to our MLAs in our role as advocates is something that we should be very, very proud of. And also, Madam Chair, I have to say, serving as the Vice Chair of the Board, of course, and working so closely with you, it's been a pleasure. And I really believe that you have put forward a report that is very reflective of the incredible work that you have done on behalf of the Board in ensuring that we certainly did the work as scheduled in the Board work plan. And I really want to thank you for that.
Well, very, very much appreciated, but this report truly, and I do appreciate that, reflects 7 trustees who have hit the floor running and working on behalf of Calgary Catholic, and it's a privilege to work among them. Seeing no further hands up, I will ask for a motion, or call the question, sorry. All those in favor? Thank you. And that one is also carried, and that will, hang on, I'm just going to get to the right file. Move us on to item 9.3. And this is an item that is, actually, I'll just turn to Trustee Ivanelli to read the motion, and then we'll discuss.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the Board of Trustees approves the Chief Superintendent's evaluation report as developed at the special board meeting of June 8, 2020, as an accurate accounting of the Chief Superintendent's performance for the period March 1st, 2020 to June 8th, 2020, and further, the Board of Trustees authorizes the Chair to make any required technical edits and to sign the report on the Board of Trustees' behalf.
Thank you for that motion, Trustee Ivanelli. And you will recall that this is an item that falls always in our last meeting of June and reflects the work that was done, one of the most important jobs that a board has, and that is oversight into our only employee and providing those evaluations. Before I call the question, are there any questions or concerns? Seeing none then, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Great, that motion is carried. And with that, and we will be moving on to item 9.4. But before, I'd like to express appreciation on behalf of the board to Chief Superintendent Zumlas, who has, if the trustees have hit the floor running, you've done no less. And thank you for your efforts over these last 3 months. It's been anything but uneventful. We will move on to item 9.4, which is the board self-evaluation, and I'll ask for a motion.
Let's go. I knew my name was coming up here. I'd move that the Board of Trustees approves the board self-evaluation report as developed at the special board meeting of June 8th, 2020.
Thank you for that. Are there any questions regarding this? You've seen the draft and had a number of opportunities. All right, seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Thank you for that. And that will move us on to, just a second here, item 9.5. Facilitated board self-evaluation and chief superintendent evaluation dates, 2020, 2021.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the Board of Trustees accepts the dates proposed at the June 17th, 2020 regular board meeting set aside for facilitated board self-evaluation and chief superintendent evaluation.
Thank you for that. You've got the question on the floor. I have Trustee Wellman, Trustee
Madam Chair, if I could, I would just like to move a friendly amendment, and that's to remove the word facilitated out of the motion. As we know, the board does not necessarily make that decision until November, and the evaluations may not be facilitated. They may be something that we handle on our own.
All right. Is there anyone here who would object to that being a friendly amendment? All right. I don't think I need to call that question. It's considered a friendly amendment.
Yeah, friendly.
All right. Sorry. So the word facilitated is removed. And Trustee Lowe.
Mine is actually the question on the purpose of this motion, because this is not currently in our work plan, and we approve dates at our organizational meeting, and these dates are part of the chart of that organizational meeting. So I believe this is a redundant motion. When we approve the dates, we approve our facilitated meetings, our board evaluation and our chief evaluation dates.
All right.
So, and currently in our work plan, it is not in our work plan to do this in June. So I actually don't think this is a required motion.
All right. Thank you for that. I would suggest that this was likely something that has been common practice year through year. No? Okay. All right. I will turn it to the chief, and then I'll open it up for trustees.
I would support that, and the reason why I'm saying that is because the June 7th date is a Monday, and I know that later in another meeting, the trustees will be approving a particular calendar, whether it be Wednesdays or Mondays, so we may want to embrace the feedback that was provided by Trustee Lowe as you move forward on this one.
All right. Trustee Wellman.
Madam Chair, I was just going to say I know that it is captured within the board calendar that we'll be approving at the organization meeting. I certainly wouldn't be opposed if Trustee Rath wanted to withdraw her motion.
To Trustee Rath.
I will withdraw.
All right. Thank you for that. Any other conversation on this before we move on? Okay. Thank you for that. That motion is withdrawn. And that will get us to item 9.6, which is, hang on, just let me get down here. Okay, 9.6 is our board annual work plan, first, second, and final reading. And who's got that one? Okay, you'll read the motion, we'll have the conversation.
Absolutely. Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I move that the Board of Trustees consider amending Board Policy 2, Appendix A, titled Board Work Plan as follows. In the month of October, add a bullet point to read as, appoint ASBA Director as needed. Delete the fifth bullet point from the section titled Events, which currently reads as Bishop's Dinner, Diocesan Event. In the month of November, amend the first bullet point to now read as review and approve the annual education results report for submission to Alberta Education. Amend the fifth bullet to now read as review, amend if necessary, and approve revised district budget. Delete the seventh bullet point, which reads as approve AERR and 3-year education plan for submission to Alberta Education. Delete the 10th bullet, which currently reads as appoint ASBA Director as needed. Amend the 11th bullet point to now read as select the facilitators and confirm the times for the Chief Superintendent and Board self-evaluation for the current year. In the month of January, delete the 5th bullet point, which currently reads as review class size report. In the month of March, amend the 3rd bullet point to now read as review and provide, if necessary, input for the 3-year capital plan. In the month of April, delete the 6th bullet point, which now reads as receive update on reorganization of senior administration if necessary. In the month of May, add 2 new bullet points, which read as approve the 3-year education plan, review and provide input into the district's annual report. In the section titled Events, add new bullet point, which reads as Bishop's Dinner, Diocesan Event. Amend the final bullet point to now read as attend Arbor Day celebrations when held. In the month of June, amend the 2nd bullet to now read as review and, if necessary, revise the board annual work plan. Amend the 8th bullet point to read as at organizational meeting in non-election years, select chair, vice chair, ASBA director if required, ASBA Zone 5 representative, ACSTA director, St. Mary's University Advisory Group representative, Teachers Bargaining Association, TIBA representative, and appoint the audit committee chair. Delete the 11th bullet point, which now reads as annually review and edit as required the annual work plan, board work plan to ensure board work is included on board agendas. Amend the 12th bullet point to now read as receive and review the board chair's annual report. Madam Chair, I'm going to delete the 13th bullet because that should actually remain, and that is the expression of interest in key roles on election year. Delete the 14th bullet point, which now reads as review and provide input into the district's annual report. Add a new bullet point to now read as set dates for the board self-evaluation and chief superintendent annual performance evaluations for the following year. Madam Chair, if I could, just in speaking to this, these, for the most part, the changes that are being proposed to the board work plan is really capturing current practice and our housekeeping items. We're all aware that the Department of Education has made some changes. We no longer have a combined 3-year education plan and AERR. They're now separate. The AERR still will be required to be reviewed and approved in the month of November. The 3-year education plan will be required to be reviewed and approved in May. And everything else is really just housekeeping, in some areas just a matter of providing clarity. Also, at the bottom of the I guess the work plan, we need to amend the legal reference found at the end of Policy 2, Appendix A, to read as Sections 33 34, Parts 4 and 6 of the Education Act, Board Priority Procedures Regulation, and Local Authorities Election Act.
Thank you for that. I see Trustee Williams. Okay, Trustee Lowe.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to make an amendment to this motion.
Mhm.
I would like to remove the addition under June of add a new bullet point to now read as set dates for the board self-evaluation and chief superintendent annual performance evaluation. We just established that we approved those dates as part of our organizational meeting and our board meeting dates. So I would remove that. And do you want me to do one amendment?
Let's do one at a time.
Yep.
All right, so we have a request for an amendment from Trustee Lowe to remove, add a new bullet to now read, and it reflects the board evaluation and chief evaluation. Comments or questions on that? Trustee Wellman, and then Trustee Williams.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I actually had recommended we put that here because typically when we had completed the chief superintendent's evaluation, we'd come out of a special meeting and then we would approve the dates that we had discussed at that meeting because that's where we actually set that. And of course, that would occur typically before the organization meeting. So I have no problem removing this, knowing that it is captured within the board meeting calendar.
Thank you for that. Is there anyone else who wants to speak to this amendment? All right, can you read that motion again?
I would amend the motion to remove the addition of add a new bullet point under June, to add a new bullet point to now read as set dates for the board self-evaluation and chief superintendent annual performance evaluation for the following year.
Thank you. Any further questions or clarification? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That motion's carried. Trustee Lowe, I know you have a couple more, I suspect. Trustee Williams, did you? Okay, back to you. Trustee Lowe.
Yeah, thank you. This one, I wouldn't be able to approve a second and final reading today without a change to this or removal for discussion at a future policy thing. And that is under, in the month of June, again, amend 8th bullet point to read as, at the organizational meeting in non-election years, select chair, vice chair, ASBA director if required. I would propose that we amend the bullet to read as follows. At the organizational meeting in non-election years, elect and appoint positions as defined in Policy 9 of the Board Handbook.
Okay.
So we're not repeating policy, but we're referencing it as an action.
Okay, is it possible to pull up Policy 9 for reference for?
Do you want the section, maybe?
Yeah, I'm gonna pull it up quick, because I'm running myself, but others may not have quick access to it, so.
Yes, I'm suggesting that we amend this motion to, instead of making the amendment to the 8th bullet as written, that we amend it to read, at the organizational meeting in non-election years, we elect and appoint positions as defined in Policy 9, board representatives.
Okay. And I'm just going to pull up that Policy 9. If we could have that pulled up. Yep, I'm just trying to pull up the relevant piece of Policy 9. Yep. Yeah, I've got it here. So I can read it while we try to pull it up. So Policy 9 is board reps. And the following committees, organizations will have a board rep as identified at the annual organizational meeting. Oh, there you go. Thank you. Sure. Number 1, Alberta School Board Association Board of Directors. And then there's pieces in there that describe what falls under that role. And then you've got Alberta School Boards Association Zone 5, and it further describes the role. Then you have ACSTA Director, and by describing the role, it's the purpose of the organization, the powers and duties of the rep. St. Mary's University, TIBA, and that's it. Yeah, ASBA was there. ASBA was the first one. So, and Audit. No, sorry, I'm going a bit too far.
Madam Chair, if I may speak to the rationale for that, is because we then are not trying to match. I don't like duplicating language in multiple places in our policy, so this way we're referring to our organizational structure and who we have as representatives defined in policy. Then we're just referencing that we have an action in June in non-election years.
Okay, Trustee Wellman.
Given that, we would need to also change the same thing in October.
Trustee Wellman.
Madam Chair, I was just wondering if I could request to have brought up on the screen the amended motion.
Just a relevant piece of the amended motion.
Yeah.
So we'll just wait for that amended piece. All right, so
Madam Chair, just one question. This says it refers to board policy. Sorry, just a question to the mover. It refers to board policy 9, board representations. Does that include the board, the chair and vice chair? So would the motion need to read, at organizational meeting in non-election years, select a chair, vice chair, and elect and appoint positions as defined? Would that be correct? Okay, thank you.
friendly amendment, Trustee Lowe?
Yes.
All right, is there any further discussion on this amendment? If not, I'm calling the question. All those in favor? Okay, that one's carried.
I'll make the same motion, but put it under October
In election years.
in election years. So bullet 11 under October would then read exactly the same thing. That, you have that language.
Yeah, just
So-
cut and paste.
Omar, exactly the same language as the other one?
But preface it with in election years.
Yeah.
So that bullet, sorry, Madam Chair, if I could, just for clarity from Trustee Lowe, under the month of October, bullet 11 would then be a new bullet, and it would be the last bullet in November, or pardon me, in October?
No,
Oh,
it's currently in the policy.
So it's amending.
Mhm.
Okay.
It
the
provides
11th
a
bullet.
consistency.
Okay, so it's, I just want to make sure I get the right language. So it's amend bullet number 11, and then the same language. Okay.
That's correct. amendment. So the amendment would read to amend bullet number 11 to now, under October, to now read as, at organizational meetings and election years, elect a chair and vice chair. Your select. It should, that doesn't actually read correctly. At organizational meetings and election year.
Select chair and vice chair.
And elect and appoint positions as
But we
defined.
elect the chair and vice chair.
Elect is fine.
Let's see. As long as the language is consistent.
All right, so you see this amendment in front of you. Are there any extra questions? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. Any further amendments? Okay, I have one small one before we move on, and that would be under November, if we could add a bullet that would read, I want to reflect the template that will be coming forward. Yeah, yeah, because that will come in.
The risk management?
Yeah, yeah. Do we need to capture that? Trustee Wellman?
Madam Chair, I think it would be to the board's advantage to see what exactly is going to be coming
Premature?
forward.
Okay.
I think it's premature. We could certainly amend our board work plan at any time by a carried motion.
Nope, I'm fine with that. Trustee Williams?
Given the one that we just approved, then I guess we should remove the appoint ASBA director as needed in October. I'm asking the question.
Trustee Lowe?
Yeah, no, I would say we still leave it there based on our conversation this morning about that's how we appoint and give notification at that time. We may have had some pre-conversation about it, but that is where we'll actually give the notification to ASBA.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that. Any further amendments? All right, then I will call that question. All those in favor? Thank you. On first reading as amended of the board work plan. Okay.
So with that, Madam Chair, I would move that the Board of Trustees, by a quorum of trustees present, approves the second and final reading shall immediately follow the first reading.
Thank you. All those in favor? All right, Trustee Wellman?
So with that, Madam Chair, I would move that the Board of Trustees consider amending Board Policy 2, Appendix A, titled Board Work Plan, as follows. In the month of October, add a bullet point to read as appoint ASBA Director as needed. Delete the fifth bullet from the section titled Events, which currently reads as Bishop's Dinner Diocesan Event, and amend bullet point number 11 to read as at organizational meeting in election years, elect a chair and vice chair, and elect and appoint positions as defined in Board Policy 9, Board Representatives. In the month of November, amend the first bullet point to now read as review and approve the annual education results report for submission to Alberta Education. Amend the fifth bullet point to now read as review, amend, if necessary, and approve revised district budget. Delete the seventh bullet point, which currently reads as approve AERR 3-year education plan for submission to Alberta Education. Delete the 10th bullet point, which currently reads as appoint ASBA director as needed. Amend the 11th bullet point to now read as select the facilitators and confirm the times for the chief superintendent and board self-evaluation for the current year. In the month of January, delete the 5th bullet point, which currently reads as review class size report. In the month of March, add the 3rd bullet point to now read as review and provide, if necessary, input for the 3-year capital plan. In the month of April, delete the 6th bullet point, which now reads as receive update on reorganization of senior administration if necessary. In the month of May, add 2 new bullet points, which reads as, approve the 3-year education plan, review and provide input into the district's annual report. In the section titled Events, add new bullet point, which reads as Bishop's Dinner, Diocesan Event. Amend the final bullet point to now read as attend Arbor Day celebrations when held. In the month of June, amend the second bullet point to now read as review and if necessary revise the board annual work plan. Amend the 8th bullet point to read as at the organization meeting in non-election years, elect chair and vice chair, and elect and appoint positions as defined in Board Policy 9, Board Representatives. Delete the 11th bullet point, which now reads as annual review and edit as required the annual work plan to ensure board work is scheduled on board agendas. Amend the 12th bullet point to now read as receive and review the board chair's annual report. Delete the 14th bullet point, which now reads as review and provide input into the district's annual report. And to amend the legal reference found at the end of Policy 2, Appendix A, to read as Sections 33 and 34 and Parts 4 and 6 of the Education Act, Board Procedures Regulation, Local Authorities Election Act.
Sorry, there was just, Linda, I don't think, Trustee Wellman, I don't think you said add a new bullet point to the set dates.
I'm sorry?
That's not supposed to be in there.
That's not, is that the one you just took out?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry.
And the new legal references.
I did.
She did complete that work, yeah.
All right. Thank you. Any further question on this? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. That motion is carried. And thanks for your work on this. On to item 9.7, Policy 7 change considerations. You'll recall that we had, oh, sorry, Trustee Ivanelli?
Yes, Madam Chair, I do have a motion that I'd like to make in regards to this policy, to the work plan rather. I would like to move that the board chair place on the agenda of the special board meeting no later than October 2020 a discussion of changes to Policy 2 work plan. And in support of that motion, Madam Chair, I don't feel the process follows a format that was congruent with the rest of the policy work we've been reviewing and revising throughout the year.
Okay, I'm sorry. So to be clear, you're asking for a discussion at a special meeting in October?
Yes.
A discussion of how the work plan has been arrived at?
No, to review and revise the work plan.
Okay, I'll open it up to the board for that. Are there any questions or comments on this? Trustee?
Maybe just get the wording for Omar, so this is still under 9.6.
Yes, it is. The wording?
Yep.
I'd like to move that the board chair place on the agenda of a special meeting no later than October 2020 a discussion of changes to Policy 2 work plan.
Special board. Okay, if we could have that up. I see a couple of hands, but I just want to get the motion first.
Do you need rationale for that motion?
No, just a sec. We just
Okay.
want to get the motion up here first. Board meeting no later than October 2nd.
2020. I didn't put a specific date. One of our special board meetings in October would be fine.
A discussion related to board work plan.
Policy 2 work plan.
Okay. Perfect. All right, just making sure I've got it. I have Trustee Wellman, Trustee Williams.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, we just reviewed and approved the board work plan as required by our board work plan that we do this in June. That being said, I know that the Board of Trustees does have a schedule to review all policies between now and the next election. I was just wondering where Policy 2 sits in that review. Is it near October, or are we moving it up in the schedule? Because I do know that we have a pretty exhaustive schedule that we have done up, and so I think we need to take that into consideration if we want to maintain special board meetings only lasting 3 hours.
Thank you. I have Trustee Wellman, Trustee Lowe. Williams, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm looking for some clarity here. So is it the policy you want to review or Appendix A?
Madam Chair, Appendix A of the policy, and for rationale to that, I did bring up, it came up twice this year on September 11th, 9.2, and September 25th, 9.3, where I did make request to have the policy brought up at a special board meeting for review.
All right, thank you for that. I have Trustee Lowe. Oh, certainly. Okay.
So, this is what I'm trying to understand here. So, what you want to do is review what we just approved.
Yes, I would like to review the work plan of the board that we just went over, because I do have amendments that I'd like to make and points I'd like to add, and I didn't feel this was the appropriate time to do so. And I didn't feel we had an opportunity to do so prior to today.
Well, I mean, I know I've seen it 3 times before this came to the board, and I think the appropriate thing would be to bring the appropriate amendments to the board at this time.
I have Trustee Lowe and then Trustee Wellman.
We do know a trustee can ask for it to be brought to any special meeting. And I recall Trustee Ivanelli, because we got in trouble for talking last year of September, that she had several things that she wanted to bring forward, but at that point it wasn't in the package. So I think what Trustee Ivanelli is saying, it's not really fair to bring a whole bunch of amendments and ask for a discussion when we haven't had a chance to even look at it. So I think it's totally appropriate to ask to do that, but I would ask Trustee Ivanelli that she submit those prior to the board chair to be included in a package for discussion. There may not be any changes made, but I think the discussion should be provided.
Trustee Wellman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Trustee Lowe is absolutely correct. A trustee can bring forward a motion to review anything at any point in time, as long as that motion is carried. That being said, I really, I guess I'm feeling bad, because being proactive and trying to move the board along with its work in unprecedented times such as COVID-19, I did take the step to propose some amendments that I considered housekeeping only to our board work plan. The board work plan is something that we look at every single month, or at least we should be. The board work plan is what assists the superintendent, the chair, and the vice chair in actually creating our agendas and making sure we do complete the work that needs to be done. The board package is sent out on Fridays so that trustees have the opportunity to read, review, and to come to the meeting to be prepared to have the discussion and the debate and to move amendments. And there was a number of amendments moved this evening, and we have done that. My concern was Trustee Ivanelli has asked that we add an agenda item to review Policy 2 to the special board meeting in October. We have a schedule that we all approved for reviewing every single policy. I was just asking if we know when Policy 2, where it sits on that schedule, because we would need the latitude to amend the agenda in order for us to accomplish the work that needs to be done within a 3-hour window.
Right. And as I have it, sorry, Trustee Ivanelli?
Oh, you can finish your comment and I can...
No, you go ahead.
Okay,
I
thank
will
you.
finish up and then we're going to determine next
Okay.
actions.
So as per policy, we need to review board policy handbook once a term. And each policy has been brought forward and we've had discussion and conversation about it, for the exception of Policy 2 work plan, which I did make 2 attempts to have it brought to a special board meeting, once after the September 11th meeting and one after the September 25th meeting. I do appreciate Trustee Wellman's initiative to bring forward the housekeeping changes, but the policy does belong to all the trustees, and therefore I feel we should all have appropriate input into each of the policies and changes made within.
Okay, thank you for your thoughts. Seeing no further hands, I'm going to make a couple of comments and I'll call the question. As far as the review of the board work plan, that actually is in both the perpetual planner and the board work plan as occurring every year in June, and that should be well known by all trustees. And you're quite right, every trustee has the option of bringing forward by motion a request to have policies reviewed, and you've done that appropriately here today. So I think that, and to Trustee Wellman's point as well, these were part of the package because it is part of the work plan that could have been anticipated by people. That said, you do have a motion on the floor to add this to a special meeting agenda, and seeing no further hands, I personally don't have an issue adding it. You've brought it forward appropriately. But I will call the question now in the interest of time. So the motion again is board chair place on a special board meeting agenda no later than October 2nd, 2020, discussion regarding Policy 2 Board Work Plan Appendix A. Have I captured that? All right, before I call the question, Trustee Wellman, and then we're going to move on.
Again, a question of clarity. I don't know if Omar is able to bring up the schedule that the board had approved for policy review. I just want to see where Policy 2 is sitting on our schedule for review.
Policy 2 has already been reviewed and approved along with Policy 12 about a year ago when we did the work when we were doing committees. So we have already finished the review. That said, any trustee at any time can bring back a policy.
All right, okay.
Out of order, if wish.
Okay.
So,
No,
and I
no,
believe
that's
that's
fine.
what, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
There
I
we
just
go.
wanted that clarity.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, and here we have it.
So it was June 2019. Okay,
Yeah,
thank
a
you.
year ago.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? All right, thank you for that. That's going to move us on to item 9.8, and this is second and final reading of Policy 7, and I will turn it to Trustee Williams.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And as everybody knows,
9.7 you mean?
Yes, sorry. Yes, 9.7. Policy
this
7.
policy, this was under the review that we did with this that was on the schedule and has come forward in our governance sessions more than once. So with that the Board of Trustees amends Board Policy 7 titled Board Operations as follows. Amend the first sentence of the second paragraph to read, the Board's fundamental obligation is to preserve and to enhance the public interest in publicly funded Catholic education generally and in the affairs of operations in particular. Insert a new bullet point 1 titled Governing Legislation, which reads, the Board and each trustee must comply with the Education Act, the Board Procedures Regulation, the Local Authorities Election Act, and this Board Policy 7 on all matters connected to board elections and operations. Any inconsistency between this Board Policy 7 and the Education Act, the Board Procedures Regulation, or the Local Authorities Election Act will be resolved in favor of the relevant governing legislation. Amend the existing bullet point 1.1 to now become the new bullet point 2.1, which reads as, within the stipulations of the ministerial order which resulted in the establishment of Calgary Catholic Regional District Number 1 and subsequent ministerial orders, the most recent being Ministerial Order Number 035-2013, dated June 5th, 2013. The Board has decided to provide for the nomination and election of trustees by wards. As noted below, each of the 4 school district wards include 2 complete city wards, and the remaining 3 school district wards also includes an area outside the city limits in addition to 2 complete city wards. Copies of the ministerial orders are available from the district office. A map of the district depicting the 7 wards is included in Appendix A and described in full detail in District Bylaw 183-2013, attached as Appendix B. 1 trustee is elected to represent each school district ward. Amend the existing bullet point 1.2 to now become the new bullet point 2.2, which reads as, the provisions of the Education Act and the Local Authorities Election Act respecting the election of trustees shall apply to every election in each ward. Amend the existing bullet point 1.3 to now become the new bullet point 2.3, which reads as, if a vacancy occurs in the membership of the board during the three-year period immediately following a general election, a by-election need not be held if there is only 1 vacancy on the board. If a vacancy occurs in the membership of the board during the fourth year following a general election, a by-election need not be held unless the number of vacancies on the board reduces the board to a number that is less than the quorum of the board plus 1. Amend the existing bullet point 1.4 to now become the new bullet point 2.4, which reads as stipulated in District Bylaw 178-2007 attached as Appendix C, the minimum number of electors required to sign the nomination of a candidate for the election to the board is 25 electors. The nomination form stipulates that these electors must reside within the ward for which the nomination is being sought. Amend the existing bullet point 1.5 to now become the new bullet point 2.5, which reads as the Trustees Campaign Disclosure Bylaw, bracket 184-2013, bracket, attached as Appendix D, requires the public disclosure of campaign contributions and campaign expenses of candidates for trustee. Amend the existing bullet point 2.1 to now become the new bullet 3.1, which reads as organizational meetings. The board shall hold an annual organizational meeting. In a non-election year, the organizational meeting shall occur at the last regular meeting of the board in June. In any year in which a general election takes place, the organizational meeting shall be held within 4 weeks following the date the statement of the results of that election is announced or posted and will be held at a time and place to be fixed by the secretary for the board. Amend the existing bullet point 2.3 to now become the new bullet point 3.3, which reads as the secretary of the board shall give notice of the organizational meeting to each trustee as if it were a special meeting, will serve as pro tem chair until such time as the chair of the board has been elected. Amend the existing bullet point 2.4 to now become the new bullet point 3.4, which reads as the organizational meeting and afterwards at any time as determined by the board shall elect one of its members as chair and another as vice chair to hold office at the pleasure of the board. Amend the existing bullet 2.9 to now become the new bullet point 3.9, which reads as in the case of a two-way tie vote which is not resolved through following the above described voting process, the tie shall be broken by the secretary treasurer of the board, writing the names of the two nominees on equal-sized paper, placing them in a receptacle, and directing some person to withdraw one of the papers. The secretary-treasurer shall declare the nominees whose name is drawn elected. Amend the existing bullet 2.12 to now become the new bullet point 3.12, which reads as the chair and the vice chair shall hold office at the pleasure of the board until the next organizational meeting of the board, unless a successor is appointed sooner. Amend the existing bullet point 2.13 to now become the new bullet point 3.13, which reads as upon election of the chair, the board chair shall preside over the remainder of the organizational meeting. Amend the existing bullet point 2.15.5 to now become the new bullet point 3.15.5, which reads as where a majority for any of the above positions is not attained on the first ballot, the procedures outlined in 3.7, 3.8, and 3.9 will be followed. Amend the existing bullet point 3.1 to now become the new bullet point 4.1, which reads as the board must hold as many regular meetings as it considers necessary to deal adequately with its business. Amend the existing bullet point 3.5 to now become the new bullet point 4.5, which reads as a trustee who is absent from 3 consecutive regular meetings shall be disqualified from remaining as a trustee unless the trustee... Wait a minute. Unless the trustee, and then I go to amend the existing bullet point 3.5.1?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. To now become the new bullet point 4.5.1, which reads as obtains authorization by resolution of the board to do so, or amend the existing bullet point 3.52 to now become the new bullet point 4.5.2, which reads as provides to the board chair evidence of illness in the form of a medical certificate respecting the period of absence. Delete the existing bullet point 3.5.3, amend the existing bullet point 3.7 to now become the new bullet point 4.7, which reads as regular meetings of the board will not be held without the chief superintendent or designate in attendance unless the chief superintendent's contract is being discussed. Amend the existing bullet point 4.2 to now become the new bullet point 5.2 and edit the last sentence to read as the notice of the special meeting shall be sent at least 2 days before the special meeting by combine and amend existing bullet points 4.2.1 and 4.2.2 to now become the new bullets point 5.2.1, which reads as recorded mail to the last known address of each trustee shown on the records of the board, personal service on the trustee, or amend the existing bullet point 4.2.3 to now become the new bullet point 5.2.2, which reads as a personal capable of accepting service at the trustee's residence, or create a new bullet point 5.2.3, which reads as fax, email, or other electronic means to be received at the at the last fax number, email address, or other electronic receiving number of the trustee as shown on the records of the board. Amend the existing bullet point 4.2.10 to become the new bullet point 5.2.10 and replace the reference to the School Act with the Education Act. Amend the existing bullet point 5 to now become the new bullet point 6 and replace the reference to the School Act with the Education Act. Amend the existing bullet point 5.5 to now become the new bullet point 6.5, which reads as, without restricting the right of the board to meet private in accordance with the Education Act, items shall be discussed in private or items of a confidential nature, disclosure of which could reasonably be expected to be harmful to. Amend the existing bullet point 5.5.7 to become the new bullet point 6.5.7, which reads as, advice from officials or other matters protected under the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Acts. Insert a new bullet point 7.1, which reads as, the Board of Trustees uses a consent agenda to act on non-controversial and routine items quickly. Items may also be placed on the consent agenda if trustees have had an opportunity to pose questions and have discussion at a prior meeting, or if the nature of the report provided is solely for information purposes. A separate vote to approve the consent agenda is not required. The consent agenda is considered approved if no trustee objects to consideration of the item on the consent agenda prior to the vote of approval of the regular agenda. Items may be removed from the consent agenda and placed on the regular agenda at the request of any trustee. The board chair must be advised of such a request by noon on the day prior to the Board of Trustees meeting in order that the appropriate member of administration can attend the meeting for discussion of the item if necessary. Failure to provide such notice will cause the item to remain on the consent agenda. Reports removed from the consent agenda will be dealt with on the regular agenda either as board decision items or information items as determined by the board chair. The consent agenda by default may include the board chair's report, the chief superintendent report, the infrastructure, land and planning report, approval of minutes, trustee engagement, representation reports. These reports must be submitted in a written form and shall be received as part of the board meeting portfolio. Delete the existing bullet point 6.1.3, delete the existing bullet point 6.1.7, delete the existing bullet point 6.1.8, insert bullet point 7.2.3, which reads as consent agenda. Amend the existing bullet point 7.1.2 to now become 8.1.12, which reads as recording of the disposition of all motions. Amend the existing bullet point 7.1.13 to now become 8.1.13, which reads as trustee declaration of conflict of interest pursuant to the Education Act. Amend the existing bullet point 7.3 to now become the new bullet point 8.3, which reads as, the board shall direct the chief superintendent to ensure upon acceptance by the board that appropriate initials are affixed to each page of the minutes and that appropriate signatures are affixed to the last page of the minutes. Amend the existing 7.4 to now become the new bullet point 8.4, which reads as, the board will direct the chief superintendent to establish and maintain a file of all board minutes. Amend the existing bullet point 7.5 to now become the new bullet point 8.5, which reads as part of its ongoing effort to keep staff and the public fully informed concerning its affairs and actions, the board will direct the chief superintendent to institute and maintain effective and appropriate procedures for the prompt dissemination of information about decisions made at all board meetings. Amend the existing bullet point 7.6 to now become the new bullet point 8.6, which reads as, the approved minutes of a regular special meeting shall be posted to the website as soon as possible following approval. The board will direct the chief superintendent to be responsible to distribute and post the approved minutes. Amend the existing bullet point 8.5 to now become the new bullet point 9.5, which reads as required votes. The board chair and all trustees present, unless excused by resolution of the board or abstains as required under the Education Act, shall vote on each question. Each question shall be decided by a majority of the votes of those trustees present. A simple majority of a quorum of the board will decide in favor of the question. In the case of an equality of votes, the question is defeated. A vote on a question shall be taken by open vote expressed by show of hands, except votes to elect the board chair or vice chair, which must be by secret ballot if one or more trustees request that that vote be by secret ballot. Amend the existing bullet point 9.2 now become the new bullet point 10.2 and modify its first sentence to read as, a request to make a presentation shall be made by using the form appended as Appendix E or in the writing to the Senior Administrative Assistant Board matters specifying in a clear and concise manner the nature of the concern. its relationship to the board's role, and the purpose of the request and the expected outcome. Amend the existing bullet point 9.9 to now become the new bullet point 10.9, which reads as, the board shall always discharge its responsibility to act on behalf of the district supporters as a whole. Presentations by specific groups from within the district shall be considered in this context. Amend the existing bullet point 9.10 to now read 10.10, and edit the third, fourth, and fifth subpoints to read as, the security or property of the district, personal information of an individual, including but not limited to a student or an employee of the district, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of property by or for the district. Amend the existing bullet point 11.3 to now become the new bullet point 12.3 and replace the reference to 11.2 with 12.2 therein. Amend the existing bullet point 12 to now become the new bullet point 13 and edit the second paragraph to now read as, board members shall be paid subject to what follows: an annual honorarium, a per diem honorarium, and be reimbursed for approved expenses incurred in the performance of their board responsibilities. The board will direct the chief superintendent to ensure that all required payroll and statutory deductions are applied to all relevant amounts when paid. Amend the existing bullet point 12.6 to now become the new bullet point 13.6, which reads, as the board will review trustee compensation once every 4 years, taking into consideration budgetary and economic factors, the ability to attract and retain individuals, as well as other relevant factors. These findings shall be reviewed in June presiding a general civic election. Amend the existing bullet point 12.7.3 to now become the new bullet point 13.7.3, which reads as, attendance at meetings as members of official trustee organizations, bracket ACSTA, ASBA, Zone 5, TIBA, and a representative of St. Mary's College, bracket. Amend the existing bullet point 12.7.8 to now become the new 13.7.8, which reads as, the per diem honoraria rate shall be $205.20 per day for attendance at such meetings, general meetings of provincial associations of more than 3.5 hours duration, and $107.60 for meetings of 3.5 hours or less, including the associated travel time for out-of-district events. Amend the existing bullet 12.8 to now become the new bullet point 13.8, which reads as, expenses incurred in relation to out-of-district travel requiring board member attendance shall be reimbursed if a claim cannot be to a relevant organization, bracket ASBA, ACSBA, Zone 5, TIBA, or if appointed by the board to represent the board, bracket. Amend the existing bullet point 12.10 to now become the new bullet point 13.10 and modify its first sentence to read as, in district claims may be made for parking while on required board business, bracket, not board-related business, bracket, certain meals, / entertainment expenses when all official board business and other expenses were deemed appropriate. Amend the existing bullet point 12.11 to become the new bullet point 13.11, which reads as, trustees may also be reimbursed for other expenses directly related to the work of the board, including fax line charges, long-distance charges, etc., or for pre-approved purchases. Amend the existing bullet point 12.12 to now become the new bullet point 13.12, which now reads as, all trustee expense claims shall be reviewed and approved by the board chair prior to submission for reimbursement. Board chair expense claims shall be reviewed and approved by the vice chair. The expenses claimed for the vice chair shall be reviewed and approved by the chair of the audit committee. Expense claims shall be submitted monthly. Expense claims shall be submitted within a month of the final documentation being received. Amend the existing bullet point 13.1 to now become the new bullet point 14.1. Remove the reference to the School Act, replacing it with reference to the Education Act. Amend the existing bullet 13.2 to now become the new bullet point 14.2, which reads as, trustees shall make such a declaration in an open meeting prior to board or committee discussion of the subject matter, which may place the trustees in conflict of interest. Amend the existing bullet point 13.3 to now become the new bullet point 14.3 and replace the reference to the School Act with reference to the Education Act, and number all other bullets points accordingly. Amend the legal reference as to now read as Part 4 of the Education Act, Board Procedures Regulation, Local Authorities Elections Act, Income Tax Act, bracket Canada, bracket. Item, no, that's got to be it, right?
That's it.
Okay.
All right, well done, Trustee Williams. Thank you for that. All right, that is second and final reading. Are there any questions before I call the question on this? Seeing none, all in favor? Thank you very much, and thanks for your work on this policy. That will move us to 9.8 and to Trustee D'Souza.
My turn now. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move that the Board of Trustees amends Policy 12 titled Role of the Chief Superintendent and Policy 12 Appendix B, Chief Superintendent Performance Assessment Guide as follows. Amend 4.5 to now read as directs the preparation and presentation of the 3-year capital plan. Amend 6.2 to now read as develops and keeps current administrative procedures that is consistent with board policy and provincial policies, regulations, and procedures. Amend 8.1 to now read as directs the generative strategic planning process, including but not limited to the development of the 3-year education plan, district budget, facilities, and transportation plans. Amend 8.2 to now read as directs the preparation and presentation of the board priorities. Delete 8.3, delete 8.4. Amend 8.
Madam Chair.
Sorry.
Excuse me, I don't like to do this, but we have a number of 8.3s, 8.2s, et cetera. I think it's really important that you include the RE in front,
All right.
as that identifies it as a role expectation and not a QI.
All right. Thank you for telling me that. Appreciate that. Delete RE 8.3, delete RE 8.4. Amend RE 8.5 to now read as directs the preparation and presentation of the annual education results report. Amend RE 11.1 to now read as practices Catholic leadership in a manner that is viewed positively and has the support of those with whom the Chief Superintendent works most directly in carrying out the directives of the board and the minister. Amend QI 1.3 to now read as ensure appropriate and meaningful social justice initiatives are occurring in each school. Amend QI 4.6 to now read as ensures the board is informed of litigation matters. Amend QI 8.3 to now read as ensures that all possible actions are undertaken to achieve key results identified by the board. Amend QI 9.1 to now read as ensures the district is compliant with all legal, ministerial, and board mandates and timelines, including, but not limited to, the Alberta Education Superintendent Leadership Quality Standards, all board policies, and accompanying administrative procedures. Amend QI 11.1 to now read as builds effective relationships with staff. Amend QI 11.2 to now read as models commitment to professional learning. Amend QI 11.3 to now read as displays visionary leadership. Amend QI 11.4 to now read as fosters leading learning. Amend QI 11.5 to now read as ensures First Nation, Métis, and Inuit education for all students. Amends QI 11.6 to now read as directs school authority operations and strategically allocates resources in the interest of all students. Amends 11.7 to read as supports effective governance. Amends 11.8 to now read as demonstrates the qualities of a shepherd leader.
All right. Any questions or comments on first reading? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Thank you.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move that the Board of Trustees amends Policy 12 titled Role of the Chief Superintendent.
No.
Sorry.
No, you've skipped one.
Oh, sorry. That the Board of Trustees, by a quorum of the trustees, presents, approves that the second and final reading shall immediately follow the first reading.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All those in favor? All right.
I'd like to move that the Board of Trustees amends Policy 12 titled Role of the Chief Superintendent and Policy 12 Appendix B, Chief Superintendent Performance Assessment Guide as follows. Amend RE 4.5 to now read as directs the preparation and presentation of the 3-year capital plan. Amend RE 6.2 to now read as develops and keeps current administrative procedures that is consistent with the board policy and provincial policies, regulations, and procedures. Amend RE 8.1 to now read as directs the generative strategic planning process, including but not limited to the development of the 3-year education plan, district budget, facilities, and transportation plans. Amend RE 8.2 to now read as, directs the preparation and presentation of the board policies. Delete RE 8.3, delete RE 8.4. Amends RE 8.5 to now read as, directs the preparation and presentation of the annual education results report. Amend RE 11.1 to now read as, practices Catholic leadership in a manner that is viewed positively and has the support of those with whom the Chief Superintendent works most directly in carrying out the directives of the board and the minister. Amend QI 1.3 to now read as, ensure appropriate and meaningful social justice initiatives are occurring in each school. Amend QI 4.6 to now read as, ensure the board is informed of litigation matters. Amend QI 8.3 to now read as, ensures that all possible actions are undertaken to achieve key results identified by the board. Amend QI 9.1 to read as, ensures the district is compliant with all legal, ministerial, and board mandates and timelines, including but not limited to the Alberta Education Superintendent Leadership Quality Standards, all board policies, and accompanying administrative procedures. Amend QI 11.1 to read as, builds effective relationships with the staff. Amend QI 11.2 to now read as, models commitment to professional learning. Amend QI 11.3 to now read as, displays visionary leadership. Amends QI 11.4 to now read as, fosters leading learning. Amends QI 11.5 to now read as, ensures First Nation, Métis, and Inuit education for all students. Amend QI 11.6 to now read as, directs school authority operations and strategically allocates resources in the interest of all students. Amends 11.7 to now read as, supports effective governance. Amend 11.8 to now read as, demonstrates the qualities of a shepherd leader.
Thank you for that, Trustee D'Souza. All right. And seeing no hands up for questions or clarification, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. That motion is carried. That will move us to item 9.9, utility right-of-way to the Chief Superintendent.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair. So this particular topic is just filling in from the City of Calgary. There's quite a bit of storms, water collecting, and so what they wanted to build is a storm pool on the property of St. Benedict School site. And so this simply is an item to allow restricted caveat to be placed on the land titles. And so back to you for board approval.
Thank you to that. I'll turn it over to trustees for any questions of clarification. I think as I understand it, if I could, the storm pool was built a year or two ago. And it's, so just to make sure I'm understanding it, they're just wanting to register a utility right-of-way on the St. Benedict School site. So does that, I'm not sure what that means.
That gives them access without our permission at any time to go in there to pump out the water or to work or to do whatever they need to do.
Okay. Yeah. All right, got it. Thank you. Okay. Thanks for the clarification. Are there any other requests or concerns from trustees? Trustee Ivanelli.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Will this work be completed in the summer when students are not at school?
That is a great question. I'm not sure if the work has been done already. I thought the work had been done, and this is simply just now getting the paperwork in order. That's, yeah.
Yeah, I drove by it most days, Trustee Ivanelli, and it was a big hole in the ground that serves as an overflow tank, I guess, in the event of heavy rains. That work has been completed. As I understand this request, it's just to allow the city to access our property when needed, correct? There you go. All right. Seeing no further questions. Oh, it was a long haul. Yeah. Okay, so you've heard the motion. Oh, so sorry. Never mind. All right, let's make that motion, Trustee Ivanelli.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the Board of Trustees approves the utility right-of-way and seeks ministerial approval for the same on land located at 10340 19th Street, Southwest Calgary, Alberta, and legally described as Plan 2795 GT, the west 857.16 feet throughout Block B, accepting thereout the plan of subdivision on Plan 8133JK containing 3.59 acres more or less, accepting thereout all mines and minerals.
Thank you. All right, you've heard the question. All those in favor? Thanks. That motion's carried. And that brings us to item 9A10, locally developed courses, to the chief.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So at our last board meeting, the trustees approved many locally developed courses. Since then, we would like to move forward in offering a dance performance course 152535, which we would be acquiring from the Edmonton Public School jurisdiction. There is an appetite for this dance performance course at the high school level. I'd like to thank Superintendent Haloka and her team for bringing this forward for the board's consideration.
Thank you. All right. And to Trustee Rath, if you'd like to make the motion.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move that the Board of Trustees approves, as required by the Minister of Education, the new acquired locally developed course Dance Performance 2020, 15, 25, 35 for 3 or 5 credits.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from trustees on this? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That motion's carried. And that brings us to item 10, which is Board Chair's report, and I will accept it as read unless there are any questions from trustees on this. Seeing none, that will move us to item 11, which is CCSTA AGM, and this is reports from trustees as delegates. To Trustee Lowe.
Yeah, the report is there. I was asked by the board to attend, so they certainly did hold the meeting virtually. They had a fairly good representation. A lot of Alberta trustees were in attendance, and you can just see from the report some of the highlights of the meeting. So if there's any questions, otherwise I won't read the report.
All right, questions? Seeing none, and thank you for your attendance and for representing the board. That will bring us to item 11.1B, TIBA, to Trustee D'Souza.
Thank you, Madam Chair. TIBA had a brief meeting, and I thank 2 trustees who attended, along with Mike Krupa and Superintendent Richard Sabota, who were there for the first half of the meeting. And then after the meeting, after they left, there was elections. Of course, Calgary Catholic is Category A, so we did not participate in the election process in terms of voting. Category B and C did. And Trina Boymuk of Elk Island School Division was elected to be as part of Category B and C at large. It was also announced the 8 government representatives who would be part of TIBA. There's going to be more meetings coming up. They're in the process of having more meetings, and basically that's it. I've written everything in my report. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay. Seeing no questions, the board will accept that report. Thank you, Trustee D'Souza. That will get us to item 11, Metro Chair report. And you'll see by the report that I've provided that the Metro chairs did meet by phone and discussed a couple of items. Most notably was sharing thoughts on the re-entry as it's likely to unfold this fall. And just had a high-level conversation about how each district was preparing, and there is a lot of congruency. There was a brief conversation related to class sizes. It's no longer being collected. And we were asked to anticipate a need to meet over the summer because, as you know, things continue to evolve very quickly, provincially and locally, and we all committed to having that availability if needed. And if there are any questions, seeing none, then I will move on to any public report. Oh, so sorry. Oh, yeah, no, I've got it. Yeah, no, it's sorry. It's between my old document and the new document. Sorry, Trustee Ivanelli. Over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, at our June 8th special board meeting, the Board of Trustees compiled. Oh, yeah.
Trustee Ivanelli, if you could just give us a brief overview
Yep.
of the aspects of your meeting that were
Sure. Well,
made in public?
The Board of Trustees was asked to compile some input for size and structure survey for the ACSTA.
Thank you for that. All right, and seeing no questions on that report, Zone 5, anything for the public meeting?
Nothing except that the budget was passed for Zone 5.
Okay. Thank you for that. Any questions for our Zone 5 rep? Seeing none, St. Mary's University, Trustee Ivanelli?
Nothing to report, Madam Chair.
Okay. Thank you. That will conclude the reports from trustees as delegates and move us to item 12, which is our Chief Superintendent report to Chief Superintendent Struther. Zoomless.
I'm the one without hair.
So sorry.
Everyone, thank you, Madam Chair. And so in the report before you, we're really pleased that we have a winner of the Edwin Parr Award here in Calgary Catholic out of 15 Edwin Parr nominees, Joshua Eberly from St. Joseph's School. We have been, I know numerous people have congratulated him, and he was highlighted in one of our morning announcements out to the entire staff. The rest of the report you can read through, and if there's any questions, I'm here to answer.
Trustee Rath.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was hoping through the chair to the chief to pass along a huge thank you to, I guess it would be Director Urquhart, for her work in sorting through the nominations and conducting the interviews for the 15 Edwin Parr candidates. And, understanding that these are difficult times, I'm hopeful that each of these 15 candidates were able to find placement within our district, because I know what gems they are and what great talent they have. So, but if you'll pass that along, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? All right, seeing none. Thank you for that. And that will get us to item 13, which is our budget update to the chief.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And so budget is not an event, it's a process. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Superintendent Kishin-Shindani, who is going to share some information with the board.
Thank you, Dr. Zumulus. Madam Chair, having gone through the budget process and having approved the budget here late in May, this update was intended to just provide the board with an overview of a comparative, where does the district stand on a comparative basis in terms of our accumulated operating surplus vis-a-vis the 4 metro boards taken as a composite. I'm happy to report, Madam Chair, our accumulated operating surplus for the district sits at 2.3%. The average across the 4 metros is 1.8%. So we feel we're well positioned on that. And the other metric, Madam Chair, I wanted to share was what portion of the accumulated surplus is proposed to be drawn down during the budget year. For us, that sits at 11%, and the average across the metros, all 4 metros put together, is 14%. So overall, good news story, just an update for the board.
Thank you for that. To trustees for any questions or clarification on this update? All right, seeing none. Well, thank you very much for this and all of the work that's gone into getting us to a point where we could survive an October 24th budget, a mid-year cut, and a change to a new funding framework. This is no small success. So thank you for setting us up. We can sleep a little easier this summer. That will move us to 13.2, Infrastructure, Land, and Planning, to the chief.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As always, we report to the board where we're at with our Help Plan Our Future Infrastructure, Land, and Planning update. And we have 2 significant construction things that are going on: the St. Mary's flood mitigation, and in addition to that, our continuation with the St. Francis modernization that has been going on for quite some time now. And what I'd like to do is to turn it over to our Superintendent of Support Services, Mr. Brad McDonald, who has brought us some pictures to update us on other projects that are happening in the district. And just before I go over to him, just want to say a huge thank you to Superintendent McDonald and his team. Summertime, I know it's a period of rest for teachers and educators, but it's just really the beginning for the support services team as they conduct million-dollar projects throughout our jurisdiction. So over to you, Superintendent McDonald.
Thank you, Chief Superintendent Dr. Zoomlis, and through you to the chair. So we have some photos for you to see some progress in some of our schools before the end of the year here, and so I'll walk through those, and I'll be happy to take any questions you have on our projects underway. We're starting off at St. Gianna, and the first two photos really are just demonstrating the progress. It is now a school through and through. So you can see on the outside of the school, all the exterior cladding. You can start seeing the familiar parking bollards, which have become our plugins. That'll be paved soon, and then this, and then as we progress towards closing out the school, you can see the color scheme of the school with red accents between black and traditional earth tone colors that we're so familiar with our schools. Inside the school, it is going to be a bright and wonderful school on the inside, but it's just to demonstrate some of the high volume spaces, how natural light comes into corridors. We would have seen similar things at St. Veronica, St. Marguerite, and etc. And but you can see painting from floor to ceiling. All the finishing touches are happening now. So happy to be in the school towards the end of July, and which will give us August to outfit and be ready for staff and opening in September. And you can see our Evanston School on the north side of the city, from the very south to the very north, is well underway. You can start seeing, the gym is at full height, as well as some of the structural steel elements. Main office, this is looking at the main entryway right now, structural steel wise. And but you can see it's progressing very well, way out of the ground now. And inside you can see all the elements tying to the foundation points, but even inside the wall of the gym and corridor elements are starting to be visible now. And this is the other side of the school, looking back at the Learning Commons. So you can see Learning Commons high volume, and eventually this will be a parking area as well as a bit of a nice green space area. Inside St. Mark's, you can see some walls are up and being painted, so St. Mark's is continuing along well as we put the school back together. Although some pieces, as we flip through the pictures, are still a little bit wide opening, but for those familiar with the St. Boniface project, you can see how it's starting to take shape again. And of course, as part of our CMR funding, we are able to provide a wonderful opportunity for the St. Mark's community, and that they are getting a playground as well. Their playground, just happy coincidence, happy timing for the community. Their playground was at an end of life, and so as part of the modernization now, they will have a CMR funded playground to return to as well. So it's just a wonderful story for that community in Marlborough. St. Anthony's parking lot. This is a piece that happened that I haven't really reported on, but I think it's a really happy news story. So we've of course all been in toward the school, but the other half of this project was the relocation of the parking lot. As you can remember, the parking lot used to be on the other side. It was moved here because we want to create a safe opportunity for students to exit the back of the school. There you can see the rear doors. That used to be through the parking lot. And of course, with these high-risk students, we want to make sure we provide them a safe and secure way to exit the building and have their physical activity. So the parking lot was relocated. We also have an increased number of staff at this building, and to meet our collective bargaining needs, we had to provide additional parking. So anyway, this is just just want to bring this and show this to you guys that this is the project completing, so St. Anthony's work is done. Of course, we've all been waiting very patiently to begin St. Mary's work, and so COVID has given us an opportunity to get into some of these spaces proactively and hopefully reduce the September and fall impact of on the project on education in the school. So you can see, I think this is the music room now looking into the old computer lab in the basement of St. Mary's. And you can see, but demolition is underway, and we'll start that project. Now this is within the CTS lab. All the printers and all the high-tech components are gone and safe. And that's all of our photos for today. As Dr. Zoomlis had mentioned, St. Francis, the project is complete. And of course, we featured a ton of photos on that going throughout the project, and so we just want to touch base. There are some deficiency work with all of our works. There is a warranty period. Those things will continue, but otherwise the project is complete.
Thank you for that. Then I have a couple of questions. Trustee Rath, Trustee Williams.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am certain that for Superintendent McDonald, there are no two greater words than spoken or written than construction completed. Thank you to you and to your team for your perseverance in making the modernization at St. Francis the beauty of the modernization finally matches the inside and the essence of the spirit in the hallways. So thank you so much to your entire team. It is a lovely place for our young adults to learn, and I look forward to the modernization. Or, no, sorry, to the rededication. Yeah. Yes, we're not doing that again. To the rededication. Thank you.
Trustee Williams.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And just asking for clarity, given what you said, it was my understanding that, like all the electrical, everything else after the last flooding was all moved up so that we wouldn't have that problem again. But now you said basement, so we're putting classrooms back in the basement?
Through the chief.
I'm just thinking of the basement at St. Francis High School, and I think it has more electrical. I don't think there is any classrooms down there, but over to you. Oh, St. Mary's. So I will defer this one totally over to Superintendent
I thought all of
McDonald.
that had been moved out after the last flooding.
Yeah, and I think, and through the chief to the chair, the what I was referring to is, so within the basement, or within the area that is adjacent to the parking lot, which currently exits into the parking lot, which will be buried and protected going forward. So we're the essence of the St. Mary's flood mitigation project is to raise the rear of the school up so that if you can picture it, it kind of steps down twice into the parking lot. And so when the project is over, it'll only step once. And so the rear retaining wall will be between 2.5 and 3 meters higher. And our expectation is that we'll take it out of the 100-year floodplain, which will protect the school in its entirety. The space I was referring to was within the basement is a bunch of CTS and fine arts components. So there's a gym, the drama theater space, then there is the music room, and then there is the CTS computer technology space, which was a whole bunch of Apple computers for photography and those kind of photo editing and video editing. And then there's cosmetology. And we're having to, because we're raising and removing all of those exiting opportunities into the back parking lot, we have to reconfigure a little bit of the basement to ensure that we can always provide adequate and building code compliant exiting for all of our students.
Obviously, the work that's been done has been, I think, probably the most aggressive accumulation of projects, whether it's whole school builds and, prior to when we built 10 schools pretty much on top of each other, and you've been a part of that as well. Thank you for the work that you've done over this past year and the work that no doubt will be done in spades over the summer with what we've been approved for. So we just wish you good luck with all of that, and thanks for your efforts on behalf of Calgary Catholic. To the chief, okay?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate that too. I know Mr. McDonald's and his team just phenomenal, especially with the CMR funding.
Yes.
They doubled the work that they traditionally do in one summer, like it just doubled. And so meeting with contractors, awarding contracts, and just being out there has been phenomenal. So a huge thank you to Superintendent McDonald and his team. Thank you.
Thank you. That moves us to the last item 13.4, COVID-19 update. And again, over to the chief. To you. I have infrastructure, land, and planning. On my agenda, I've got 13.4, COVID-19 is after infrastructure. Oh, I'm so sorry. Where is that? Why is that not populating on mine? Okay, all right. Oh, okay, all right. To the board annual report, then to the chief.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So in your packages that were distributed today, every trustee received multiple copies of the board annual report, and I just want to say a huge thank you to Tanya Von Brunt, our Director of Communications, for her work, as well as I know Superintendent Haloka and her team contributed significantly to this, as well as other team members that I haven't mentioned today. So pleased with the layout, the design of it, and easeability in reading. And I think this is all with our new direction of less is more and trying to focus on the big rocks as we move forward. And so we open it up if there's any questions related to the layout and the design of how it appears.
And I will open it up to trustees for comments and questions. I know that we've had an opportunity to review the draft of this, and I recall the accolades that were received. This is a really fresh look for an important document, and it forms a really important piece of the advocacy work that trustees are engaged in throughout the summer and throughout the next year. So it's a really impressive document, and I would like to express our appreciation on putting it together as beautifully as you have. I see Trustee Wellman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It is a beautiful document, and of course, it's a wonderful tool for us to bring with us when we engage in conversations with our MLAs. But given that we have no idea what the fall may look like and what's going to happen, would it be possible to get an electronic copy of the final version so that in the event we're not able to meet personally, we can at least send an electronic copy with a note to our MLAs?
To the Chief.
Yeah, I don't see no issue with that. We can definitely provide that.
Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. And seeing no further questions or comments, again, thank you for your work in formatting and putting together an important document that says a whole lot in a very concise way. Trustee Williams.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and it is a beautiful document. Are we going to getting the short form?
The one pager,
Well,
like
three, I
side to
think,
side?
yeah.
To the Chief?
At this point, we haven't designed something like that unless that's the will of the board. We took the approach of condensing and making, a reduced document here, but if that's the will of the board to come up with a further reduced document, we could definitely design that, so.
To the board, is that the will of the board? I know historically we have used that trifold semi-gloss publication. I tended to use this more than not, but I'll turn it to trustees for their thoughts. Trustee Williams.
Well, my only thought is, and if we're going to put it, if the whole document's going to be online, the place it did come in handy was when you're dealing with school councils and having it in the schools, because they could pick it up and then would give you the phone call. And I found that when I was presenting at school council, although we had these there, the summary was a lot more effective.
All right. I'll go around the table in terms of what would the wish of the board be. Trustee Ivanelli?
It is a useful tool, however, if it's extra time-consuming work for administration, I believe these ones would be sufficient.
Okay. Trustee Lowe?
Yeah, I think let's try to work with this.
Okay. Trustee Wellman?
I really think that this is a beautiful document, and I think that's what we should be sharing. I think we can condense it down so much that we're not telling our real story. So I prefer this document.
Trustee Rath?
Me too.
Trustee Williams? You're... All right. Trustee D'Souza? All right. I think this document does serve our purpose as well, and I would suggest we run with this. And if we're finding it's not meeting our needs, we can go, but it is an excellent document. So once again, thank you very much. And now this moves us to your COVID-19 update.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. We continue to send out weekly updates to our parents and community on Tuesdays, and so in your package you will see the recent letters that have been sent home. And I would just also like to highlight that in this past Tuesday communication that we did give directives for our staff to return to work come Monday. And this is a good opportunity to check on them face to face. It's also an opportunity for them to start to prepare their classrooms for the new reality in the new year. And we're thinking about always preparing for the most challenging situation, scenario number 2, knowing that scenario number 1 being back to normal. We've done that for over 100 years. We've done that well. Scenario 3, learning from home. We've also done that fairly well over the last several months. And so scenario 2 is going to be the big challenge for us. And what does it look like when cohorts of students, or when you take a traditional class and half come one day and half come another way? And that's why we're doing more PD and having these conversations with our people. And so there will be some flexibility as they work with their principals over the course of the week, but the expectation is all staff return to work on Monday.
Thank you. Trustees? Trustee Ivanelli?
Chair, just a question on the thought exchange results. Are the results posted for parents' viewing and information?
To the Chief?
Thank you so much. So the resumption survey results there was a link that was included in the letter that went out on Tuesday. And so at this point, we haven't posted it anywhere because we shared it directly with them. If they clicked on the link, then they would access it. But I guess we could.
The reason I ask is, a couple of parents were inquiring if all the thoughts were able to be shared.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this particular survey was not done through Thought Exchange. Like, it wasn't a Thought Exchange, it was a Google survey, which is a little different than the Thought Exchange. As we move forward with more and more Thought Exchange, I think you bring forth a really good point, and I'll take that back to our communications team. I do believe it would be a really good thing to have a place on our website so that people could access past Thought Exchange as well, if they are interested in achieving or looking back on information that we've gathered. So we'll take that back to administration and we will work on that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions from trustees on this? Seeing none, then I would again like to express our appreciation on behalf of the board for the great deal of work that's been done relative to a response for COVID-19 from your team. Everything from the surveys that have assessed thoughts and concerns to the very frequent updates to our staff and to our families, to booklets that will be available. These go a long way, I think, in helping to reduce the anxiety that some families may be feeling, and that was really above and beyond. Trustee Rath?
Thank you, Madam Chair. May I just add to that? I was very impressed on Friday at the call-in with the minister and how they really applauded Calgary Catholic for modeling, and they were looking to us to help with the rest of the school districts as long, and Edmonton Public as well. So, lovely.
To the Chief.
Thank you, and thank you, Trustee Rath. In relation to that, like the success that Calgary Catholic has had in keeping our students and staff safe is largely due to the wonderful team that I work with. And there's so much work that's happening behind the scenes that I'd like to share with the board today. And that involves Superintendent Mark Rawlick has been working on leading up the COVID-19 handbook that will be used for all of our staff and parents. We hope to have that published here before the end of the school year. In addition to that, Superintendent McDonald is our lead for our Pandemic Response Committee, who meets daily and talk about different issues that come from our schools. Our schools, it's important to note that they've remained open during this period of time with union members from all three of our unions, and so come Monday when the rest of the staff return, we're all in this together, and that's another reason to come back to work on Monday, to show our unity and to continue the conversations as we gear up and prepare for August. But I just wanted to put a big shout out in that every single administrator sitting in this room has been involved in some way, shape, or form in helping the success through COVID-19. And I really want to thank the board for all the board support. I know that each board member in here cares deeply for the students at Calgary Catholic, and we can do the things that we've done with your support. And so thank you on behalf of the administration.
Thank you for that. And that brings us to the conclusion of the public meeting. I know that we have a little bit more that we need to work on afterward. What I will do is we have a couple of motions that we can make now, and I know that Trustee Williams has one and Trustee Ivanelli has another, and we'll take a recess from that point. The motion?
That the Board of Trustees directs the Chief Superintendent to provide information to the Board with respect to the Public Sector Employees Act and the Provincial Bargaining Coordination Office by the end of the 2019-2020 It says 2010, but it should be 2020 school year.
Thank you. Okay, the motion's on the floor. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Okay, that motion's carried. Trustee Ivanelli?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Omar, may I ask you just to expand that a little bit? I can't see. It's gonna make it bigger. Okay, thank you. I move that the Board of Trustees directs the Chief Superintendent to submit a list of nominees by September 7th, 2020 for consideration at the ACSTA 2020 awards presentation as discussed at the June 17th, 2020 regular board meeting.
Thank you. Any discussion on this? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that motion's carried. And I don't believe we have any outstanding motions at this point in time. So this will conclude the public part of this meeting, and I would propose that we take a break. All right, we can do the closing prayer. Yes? Okay, we can do that. Who wants to make that motion?
So, Madam Chair, I would move that the Board of Trustee moves to meet in private.
Thank you. All those in favor? Thank you. And I would propose
Prayer and we do. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I think we'll get rolling here. Good evening. As the pro tem chair, I call the organizational meeting number 01 2020-2021 to order. We'll start with the prayer and then get rolling with the election for the board chair.
Package, so you're just going to have to go with mine. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. O God, who calls us by name and accompanies us on our journey of faith, continue to teach us your ways and guide us into your truth. Help us to come before you with humble hearts and minds, remembering that you are the source of all life and goodness, and that you have created us as your beloved children. As we live out our vocation with great patience, perseverance, and love, may we seek to be living signs of your presence in the world, imitating your perfect justice and loving kindness, and bearing the fruit of the Holy Spirit, through Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. We would like to acknowledge that this meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Calgary Catholic School District is taking place on the traditional territories of the people of the Treaty 7 region in southern Alberta.
The first item of business is the election of the board chair. I now call for nominations for the office of the board chair for the 2020-2021 school year. Trustee Williams.
Thank you. I would like to nominate Mary Martin as chair for the coming year. I think that Mary has proven her skill sets with her organization, her knowledge, her past experience as a provincial representative. And with that, I nominate Mary Martin.
Thank you, Trustee Williams. Are there any other nominations? Going once. Second call for nominations. Any other nominations? Not seeing any. Final call. Final call for nominations. Not seeing any. Well, the chair. I acknowledge the only nomination we have is Trustee Martin. Trustee Martin, I would now declare the nominations closed. And Trustee Martin, congratulations. I claim you as the board chair. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Than over to you.
I won't make a long day longer, but I would like to express my appreciation, my heartfelt appreciation to the board for this incredible privilege. We have a remarkable group of leaders in this room and a remarkable first team. We have important work to do this year coming up, and inspired to do it by those who are around me. Without further ado, then we need to move to the second item of business, which is the election of the board vice chair. The new chair's call for nomination for the Board of Vice Chair for the 2020-21 school year, and I would ask for nominations. Trustee Williams?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to nominate Trustee Linda Wellman for the position of Vice Chair. I think through this past time when you and her have been working together, you have shown that between the two of you have different skill sets, but they blend very well together. And I also think for continuity that I would recommend Linda for that position.
Trustee Wellman, do you accept that nomination?
I do. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I would issue a second call for another call for nominations if there are further. Trustee Ivanelli?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to nominate Trustee Cheryl Lowe for the position of Vice Chair. Cheryl demonstrates very strong leadership and governance experience that will support the Chair in service to our board.
Are there any further nominations? That's my second. Oh, Trustee Lowe, do you accept the nomination? Are there any further nominations? Third call. Any further nominations for Vice? All right, seeing none, I will declare nominations closed. Is it the pleasure of the board to conduct the election by secret ballot or open vote? Trustee Williams.
Madam Chair, I would prefer that we do by secret ballot.
Is there anyone who would oppose? Seeing none, this will go by secret ballot. And with the permission of the board, the chair appoints Tanya Van Brunt and John Wash as scrutineers. Well, we haven't in the past, but if you would like, is it the will of the board to have an opportunity to speak? All right, then we'll go in the order that the nominations were received. Trustee Wellman, followed by Trustee Lowe.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. It's been absolutely a pleasure for me to have the opportunity to serve the board as Vice Chair over this past year, and I look forward to continuing that role. As Trustee Williams stated, Trustee Martin and I certainly do make a good team. We work very well together, and we certainly have been able to fill in the gaps where, we don't always agree, but we do always come up with a good solution, and I think that we certainly have had each other's back, but more importantly, the backs of the board in completing the work that needs to be done, and in a very careful and meaningful and thoughtful way. And I know that I do bring lots of experience, lots of governance experience, and certainly policy experience. That's an area that I believe I do excel in, is my understanding of policy and the importance of adhering to it and making sure that it works and works to the benefit of the board. And so I would look forward to continuing that work. I do believe that continuity is very important. I have a lot to offer, and it would be my pleasure to continue to serve the board in this capacity. So thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Lowe, your comments?
Yes, thank you, Chair Martin. It would obviously be a great honor for me to serve the board as Vice Chair. I have a very diverse skill set, developed not only as my role as a trustee, but through my extensive professional experience. I provide a complementary skill set to the Chair, and it's the primary role of the Vice Chair to support the board chair in the work. Strong process development, having actually created a lot of the tools that we currently use to help us work through the GTEC model. I have strong organizational skills, technology skills that will complement and support the chair in managing, preparing, and executing the directions of the board and the administrative work of the role. I have strong skills in governance and understanding of our GTEC model of governance. I took a parliamentarian course, so I'm continually growing in governance and look for those ways. I'm also regularly receive information from the Board Effects blog, which I review and I use to grow in governance. I have experience governing at the provincial association level. Chair, now a member of the Provincial Governance Committee for ACST as we work through our bylaws, as well as now on our policy development. And specifically at our board level, having the privilege to support the board through the implementation of a new governance model in 2015-16 as the chair. I've also recently completed the Newman College course on Catholic education and the mission of the church, which has really brought a new life to things that I think that we can be doing in Catholic education, and I'd be very happy to bring that to our board. The vice chair is a supportive role to the chair, and I believe that I can provide support to the chair that will benefit the work of the board. Chair Martin and I work very closely on the MGA, and so we have had that experience of working together as well, and we made some really significant contributions to that, not only for our board, but provincially on that. As a servant leader, I'd be there to serve and to look after our organization, and I'd be very humbled to serve the board as vice chair.
Thank you for that. And at this point, we'll circulate ballots. Okay. Okay. Declares.
For the chair, if it's the chair, yeah, that kind of.
Best of luck to both of you. We're in good hands either way. We're a team here. Come on, this is good.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
Majority of trustees have spoken. Trustee.
The chair declares that Trustee Wallman has been duly elected as Board Vice Chair for 2020-2021. And may I have a motion to destroy the ballots?
Sorry, Mary, my machine didn't start, but I would just say that's
May I have a motion to the chair declares that Trustee Wellman has been duly elected as Board Vice Chair for the 2021 school year. May I have a motion to destroy the ballots? All in favor? Thank you. Before we move on.
Oh, Madam Chair?
Yes.
Could I?
Yeah,
Just
before
say-
we move on, yep, and you'll have an opportunity. I would like to express my appreciation for Trustee Lowe for sharing and allowing her name to stand in nomination for this role. We all have incredible gifts and talents around this table, and it's going to take all of us together to work.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and that was what I wanted to do, is I wanted to thank Trustee Lowe for allowing her name to stand. And we are a team here, and we all need to work together, and I certainly am grateful for the opportunity to serve this board for another year along with Chair Martin. So, thank you.
That will allow us to move forward to the other roles that we have to place individuals in. And the first role that will come up is the Alberta Catholic School Trustees Association. We need a director and an alternate. And may I have an expression of interest in director? Trustee Ivanelli? Thank you. Are there any other expressions of interest? Going once. Going twice. Congratulations, Trustee Ivanelli. May I have an expression of interest for alternate? All right.
Sorry, do you have an alternate?
We're doing that right now.
Okay.
I just called for an expression of interest for alternate. I had Trustee Williams who put her name up, and anyone else? Going once. Going twice. All right, then nomination or expressions will cease. Thank you for that, Trustee Williams. That will move us on to Alberta School Boards Association. And although this position doesn't take place or effect until November, we have decided to make this selection now. So I am asking for expressions of interest for the Alberta School Boards Association. Board of Directors. ASBA Board of Directors. Thank you. Are there other Trustee Rath? Are there any other expressions of interest? Going twice. Concluded. All right, we will need ballots for ASBA. Yes, and while we get the ballots, thank you, Trustee Lowe. In the order in which they were received, Trustee D'Souza, do you want to speak to this? And then we'll have Trustee Rath.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chair. I would really like to be on the ASBA board. I was on the zone rep for a year. And participated in a subcommittee as well on the ASBA committee. I believe that ASBA needs someone really strong. They're going through a rough time. They've had ups and downs, and I believe that my competencies and skills would be well suited because I'm not afraid to speak and ask the tough questions. I believe that my background and my experience would serve the board well, and it would be a great honor for me to serve as the ASBA director. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Trustee Rath?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have been the zone chair, or the Zone 5 representative for 2 years. During that time, I have represented the board on committees such as Edwin Parr, and I've created some very good relationships at Zone 5, ones that have served me well with other parts of our job. And I have had the opportunity to go to Edmonton a couple of times in Kathy's place, and I have also enjoyed that time with respect to getting to know other people around the province. I really believe that position lends well to my skill set just because of the relationships. And I feel like I've been working towards it for 2 years, and it would be a position that I would really like to see for the next year for myself.
Thank you for that. So we will commence with the ballots, yeah. 2 long years. Thanks. Oops, sorry.
Madam Chair, may I ask a question while the ballots are being counted?
Would you like this recorded, Trustee Wellman, because I'm on pause?
Sorry?
Should I record this? Okay.
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
Yeah. I was just wondering if this new appointment is not going to take place until November. We need to select an alternate. Would the alternate take place immediately, or would that also not take place until November?
It's the same.
Yeah.
It's the same, so the alternate stays until, well, wait a minute, because we're, okay, that leaves us, so now we would order or elect the alternate for the start of 2020, starting November 2020.
All right. Thank you. And the successful nominee for Alberta School Boards Association is Trustee Rath. Congratulations.
Thank you. I look forward to this new challenge. Thank you very much, and thank you to Trustee Williams for mentoring me through the last couple of years and helping me along. And thanks, Myra, for putting your name forward.
That will move us to Zone 5. And, or I'm so sorry, I'm jumping ahead. Yeah, I apologize. We need to select an alternate for the Board of Directors as well. And I'm looking for an expression of interest for alternate.
You're the current alternate, you know that, right? For Zone 5. Oh, I thought you were the current. Right, Sam is, so.
Okay, I'm just trying to be very clear and I'm making my own notes, okay? So alternate, we have an expression of interest from Cheryl Lowe. Any other expressions of interest for alternate? Going once, going twice. Seeing none. Thank you, Cheryl. That moves us to Zone 5. And may I have expressions of interest for our Zone 5 Director?
We need to use our mics, please, if you don't mind.
If nobody else is interested, I'd go Zone 5.
Well, I want to put them in the water too.
Okay, well then do that.
So I'm gonna
Okay.
do that.
No, but that's fine, you can have both.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure. I withdraw that.
All right, may I have an expression for Director for Zone 5? Yeah, Representative, thanks. Any other expressions? Last call. All right, thank you, Trustee D'Souza, for stepping forward. As an alternate, may I have an expression of interest? Okay, anyone else? Thanks, Trustee Williams. That will move us into audit. Expression of interest for audit. Trustee D'Souza? Any other? Going twice? Third time? All right. Thank you, Trustee D'Souza. St. Mary's University. We have our representative. Trustee Ivanelli? Any other expressions? Third go? Thank you, Lori. And interestingly enough, we don't have an alternate for that, have we? Okay, I just noticed that now. All right. Tiba, may I have an expression of interest? No. Is there anyone else? I don't think anybody's going to fight you for it. You blink and you'd miss it.
You mean you missed it? I missed it. No one's talking, so I'm having a real hard time.
I'm so sorry. No, we have an expression of interest for Tiba from Trustee Wellman. And so far, no one else, and I'm going to ask one last time. Seeing none, thank you very much, Trustee Wellman. And that brings us to the conclusion of the roles that we need to assign for our upcoming school year. Thank you, everybody, for putting your names forward and for stepping up into these important roles. There's going to be a lot of work to be shared by everyone. That's going to move us to item 5, which is the approval of the board meeting dates for 2020. Oh, I do need a motion. I'm sorry, it's been a long day for all of us. Would someone like to make a motion to approve these assignments as described? Yes?
And Madam Chair, when this is put up, I do want to make sure that it notes that these, for ASBA, they will not commence until after the FGM 2020.
Correct. Yeah, we outlined that initially at the beginning.
I know, but I just want to make sure it's in the
All right.
minutes.
Now, would someone
Thank
like to move that these, thank you, Trustee Wellman.
Madam Chair, I would move that the Board of Trustees approve the list of appointments to external committees as follows. ACSTA Director, Trustee Lori Ivanelli. Alternate for ACSTA Director, Trustee Williams. That we continue with our current assignments for the ASBA Director with Trustee Williams and current alternate for ASBA Director, Trustee Rath. That effective with the closing of the FGM in November of 2020, that the new ASBA Director will be Trustee Rath, and the alternate ASBA Director will be Trustee Lowe. That the Zone 5 representative will be Trustee D'Souza, and that the alternate will be Trustee Williams. Audit Committee Chair will be Trustee D'Souza. Our St. Mary's University representative will be Trustee Lori Ivanelli, and I, as the Vice Chair, will serve as the TIBA representative.
All right. All in favor? Oh, sorry. Did you have before?
Sorry, Madam Chair, I just want to make sure that Teresa has this correct for the minutes. There, is everything okay?
No, I think that's okay. We had a motion drafted that didn't get my report, but that's okay. We will go with the one that was read. I'll just listen to it again. We're good.
All right. All those in favor? That motion's carried. Thank you very much for your patience. Now we'll move on to item 5, which is the approval of the board meeting dates for 2021. And there were a couple of options prepared here, and I will open it up to trustees if someone wants to make a recommendation. Trustee Williams?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We were given 2 options to go forward with, and I would prefer that we go with option B, whereby our special meetings will now be held on Wednesdays rather than on Mondays. And there's many reasons for us to do that. One being looking at our staff and the amount of time that they're putting forward for us, especially when we have a meeting on a Monday and then a Wednesday as a board meeting. So my preference would be that accommodating staff and also looking at the opportunity for them to take the odd Monday off, I think would be the proper way to go.
All right. So would you like to make a motion, and we'll have any discussion that needs to?
Sorry. Oh. That the Board of Trustees approves the selected scheduled dates for board meetings as proposed in Schedule B, as presented, no, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right, for board meetings as presented as B on June 17th, 2020.
Okay, so we have a motion that says the Board of Trustees approves the selected scheduled dates for board meetings as presented in option B on June 17th, 2020. Any further discussion on this? Chief Superintendent.
Madam Chair, I just want to highlight that the special meeting of May 31st is actually a Monday. All the other dates are Wednesday.
Okay.
And I do believe there was some commentary related to the facilitated word used on the months of May and June, and perhaps that's something.
Yeah, Trustee Wellman.
Yes, thank you. Superintendent is absolutely correct that there was a request that when the produced schedule of the meetings is put on our website, that the words facilitated for the board self-evaluation and the chief superintendent evaluation be eliminated.
All right, would the board consider that a friendly amendment? No one opposed? Seeing none, we're good to go with striking facilitated. And any other amendments are prepared to vote? Seeing no hands. All right, with that, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. That motion's carried. And I believe we're down to our last order of business. And you have before you in items. Yes?
Clarity. So the May 31st is we're just going to remove it from the agenda altogether?
No, we're just making note that that one meeting is a Monday.
Is a Monday. Okay, thank you for that.
And that's going to move us on to a proposed audit committee schedule, which is before you as item number 6. If someone would like to make a motion, we can open this up to discussion.
I'd like to move that the Board of Trustees approves the scheduled dates for the Audit Committee meeting as presented on June 27, 2020. June 17, 2020. Thanks.
All right, so we have the motion in front of us. You've got the dates, and you've had them for a few days to look at. Are there any questions of clarification from trustees? All right. Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Perfect. Thank you. And that draws to a close our organizational meeting. I would like to thank everyone before we close with a prayer. Both have been in the board. It's been a long day. We've had a lot of business to conduct, and I want to thank everyone for their patience and for their commentary, and I'll leave my thoughts there. Trustee Williams, would you like to close us in prayer?
Certainly, Madam Chair. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Spirit, amen. We give you thanks and praise, O Heavenly Father, for sustaining us during the past year and for helping us to develop knowledge and skills in so many different areas. Continue to teach and guide us as we prepare to rejoice in the gift of summer. Be with us as we humbly celebrate the beauty of creation and enjoy the days of warmth and light. Renew us in spirit and strength and keep us safe in all of our comings and goings. May our time of rest and quiet awaken us to the wonder of your presence and love in the world, and to your mercies which are new every morning. Through Christ our Lord, amen.
Amen.
In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen.
And with that, I'll declare this meeting adjourned. Thanks again, everybody.
Thank you.